Hello Bonaparte listeners, it's Rebecca. Would you like to see a little film I made about emerald spectacles? Or read why Beatrice would like to find some bally snakeskin shoes? Maybe you're interested in hearing us talk about things we've seen or thought or heard, like our discussion of a recent event about early 20th century Parisian jewellery. Or perhaps you'd just like to ask us a whole bunch of questions about fashion. The way to access more brilliant Bonaparte content and find out the answers to all of the above is to subscribe to support our podcast on Patreon. Help us to fund the creation of our weekly episodes and benefit from a whole range of exciting extras. So listen to the podcast, follow us on Instagram, and please go to patreon.com/Bonaparte podcast to learn more. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Rebecca. It's Beatrice.
Hi, Beatrice. It's Rebecca. How are you?
I'm well. I'm wrapped up, quite warm. So
Good.
yeah,
That's what we need.
yeah. What about you?
I'm good. I had my nails done this week. They're now Schiaparelli pink.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Was that?
Yes, I'm enjoying it a lot.
How does this work? Did you know beforehand you were going to go for that, or did you look at the
No,
bottles, or how does it work?
you get a funny thing with like clear, like a metal circle, and then attached like a key ring, and then attached to it are like, I don't know, about 15 centimeter long clear sticks, and each one has got a false nail in the color of the nail varnish on it. So it's like
Oh,
this wheel that you look at.
oh, that sounds amazing.
It
I'd
is
love to
fun.
have one like that. We at the museum, I'm sure I told you about this numerous times. We have a similar kind of thing which has pieces of different colored perspex. It's
Ooh,
so
nice.
nice. It's so good. And but I think it's very, very expensive to get, so and I'm not quite sure what I'd do with it, but
Well,
still.
just look at it.
Yeah,
Just
I
play
guess.
with it.
Yeah.
So you have to on that. And like, because the first time I went, I knew I wanted glitter. This time I knew I wanted not glitter. And I thought I probably wanted a shade of orange or a shade of pink. So I focused on those two color sections.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just thought, well, shocking pink. La la.
Yeah. And are you enjoying them?
Oh, I'm loving them.
Good.
It's very good fun.
Yeah.
Yes, and my other news bitch is by mistake, I already have my Christmas tree.
How can that happen? How can you have
Well,
a
because,
Christmas tree by mistake?
well, actually, this is how. So we thought we'd have an artificial one, but so that, like an eco one, so that we're not having trees chopped down on our behalf. Although I do prefer a real tree, but that's another story. And it said it would be dispatched early December. So I thought that's okay, early December. But it arrived on the 23rd of November.
Oh, wow.
And what else am I going to do with it but put it up? I can't have like just a giant box
True.
in the middle of my tiny flat. So I'm actually quite enjoying it. It's like it's a sort of minimal one. It's not like a big fulsome one, and it's got little lights on it already, and it's got pretend snow. So it's very kitsch in one way, but in another way it's quite, like a modern minimal version of the thing.
Oh, you need to send me the link to the manufacturer. That
I
sounds really
will.
good. I
And
wonder what
yeah,
does one do about smell?
it does. Yes, it doesn't smell, but I have candles that smell
Yeah, I wonder
Christmassy.
whether one can buy Christmas tree smell.
You can buy. I was looking the other day because I was thinking, do I need a garland? So I was looking at natural garlands, and you can get garlands, made of like dried oranges and pine cones and whatnot. And I was thinking, yeah, that could be fun. But one of the places on Etsy also smells. It's called something funny like Christmas in a bottle or something. Oil that you drip onto these
Oh,
things.
really?
And I was thinking, I wonder how that works.
Wow.
How good that is. Because I was also thinking when I was really little, like tiny, I used to every year with my granny make, we called it potpourri, but it was like an orange, and then you put we put red velvet ribbon round. We were very traditional, and then you stab cloves into
cloves.
it.
I heard about that. Yeah, I've never
And we
done
used
it.
to make them every year, and they are really nice, and it gradually dries over time. And I was considering doing that this year.
That's very crafty.
I know, and we all know I've got no talent in that direction, so they'll probably be no better than when I made them when I was 4. But, never mind. They might smell nice.
That sounds very nice. I feel quite Christmassy now.
Well, have a go, because you'll make a beautiful one.
I'm not so
I'm
sure, but I like the idea of the smell, how that will smell.
Yeah, well, I've got some, as you know, I love scented candles, so I haven't found one that's like perfect Christmas. I have bought ones in the past that were like frankincense and myrrh, so smelt like churches at Christmas. Not that an atheist like me knows that much about that, but I've heard tell. So that's quite a nice smell for Christmas. But yeah, I would like a Christmas tree smell if that's possible.
Yeah. Okay. We need to investigate.
Yeah, that's a little research project for us. Because you don't want it smelling like cleaner, because lots of like cleaning liquids are
Pine needle.
scented, and I never like that.
That's true. Yeah, no, you don't want that.
We want the super luxury version. The super luxury yet also eco and vegan version.
Okay.
It's not much to ask.
No, definitely not.
But we also we
Yeah.
also watched our film,
Yeah.
Beatrice. Oh my God.
Yes. I don't quite know what to say.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I didn't read until afterwards the little blurb on the Cinémathèque Française about how it's part of a series of films that I think they did monthly that were to foreground French fashion. So it made a lot more sense to me once I knew that's what it was about, because the story is barely there.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I mean, maybe we should start with the weird plot.
Yes.
Well, not weird. It's just
not fleshed out.
Not fleshed out, and also you have to dispense disbelief rather a lot.
Yes.
So that was interesting.
Well, I like how from the start it's emphasizing the idea of cities comprising completely different worlds. So I liked how you began with the whole city, and then I can't remember all the different places you see, but like the Champs-Élysées,
the
and then you see the Opera.
Palais, see, yeah.
Yeah, so you see kind of luxy Paris, and then you go up to like the allotments in Montmartre, and then you go to is it meant to be a brothel, or is it just a tavern?
I think it's meant to be just a tavern.
Okay. I thought because she was having to dance with men and stuff that was implying something else.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
But that's really interesting, because that could be 19th century.
Yes.
How, not all the clothes, but a lot of the clothes.
Yeah, the men, that was really interesting.
Yes, they're cummerbund affairs.
Yeah.
Were they still cummerbunds? They were wider than cummerbunds.
Yeah, I don't quite know. They're like the Apache
oh,
yes. a bit. Yeah. So which again seems incongruous. Yeah, I didn't, and I kept looking at it and imagining that they would be red, but
I did.
Yeah, and their neckerchiefs and.
Yeah. Oh, they have such good neckerchiefs, and really great. There's some great Instagram accounts I follow that deal in sort of 19th and early 20th century French workwear.
Oh yeah,
and it was reminding me of those with the sort of stripes and checks and dots of each garment. But yeah, that's all rough and ready. So there's poor old Eugenie, as she is at that point, who I like it that they say she's too delicate.
Yes.
For the tavern.
And I liked how she had like the archetypal garret where she...
Of course, yes.
Where she was pondering.
I think you get those in Paris even if you don't have an attic. They just, must transform one of the rooms into that because it's so obligatory. And I like that she does her sweet notes to her really horrible mother.
Yeah, she doesn't
honestly, I wouldn't have bothered. I'd have just left.
Yeah.
Because her mother's so nasty. But it's interesting when, so Eugenie leaves and leaves her a sweet note for her mother, and her mother comes out of the tavern reading it. But then there seems to be an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah,
What's that?
I don't know. I didn't understand that either. That seemed to be the sort of the establishment next door,
Oh, okay.
I thought, but I didn't quite understand that
So
either.
that might be like a cafe, the next door that's just very open.
Yeah. Or it did
Okay.
say something about things to take away even, but maybe I didn't read properly.
So maybe it's like their kitchen and then you can buy
food to take. I don't know. But I really don't know. That's just total speculation. What I thought was interesting when Eugenie when she's in the tavern, she wears a blouse. I think a blouse and a skirt, and the blouse is sort of looks a little bit. I mean, it doesn't look beautifully pressed and
no.
But I thought the suit she wears when she absconds, and she doesn't seem to take anything at all. She just runs away.
No, she doesn't.
Looked very nice, actually.
It was nice. It had very nice, huge buttons. And interesting, like the collar was, I would have liked to have buttoned them all up for us and then unbuttoned them for us.
Yes.
Because we just see it unbuttoned and I wasn't really quite sure how it would work done up completely. But you get lovely collar lapel effect.
Yeah, and it has this sort of braid you often get on suits. I don't actually know what that's called. I need to.
Yes, she does have quite a nice outfit for a poor girl escaping the march. And I like the way it's made to seem as though she's just sort of somehow magically wandered into this completely other part of Paris. I mean, I know it'll probably take you like half an hour to walk there, but I suppose it's like psychological that you stay in your area. I don't know. Anyway.
But also to the Champs-Élysées, I don't know. I just thought that was a bit weird to walk there to then have a rest on a bench.
Yes, and I suppose it's because Dracul must have been on the Champs-Élysées, so it was because of Dracul. But yes, and as you say, she has nothing with her. She has no plan. She's not going to last long. But thankfully, Couture intervenes.
Yes.
And saves her. And the vendeuse from Dracul spots her, is kind enough to say, "Are you all right?" Yeah. And then when she's not all right, says, "Just come and be a mannequin."
Yeah. Yeah. That was that almost was a bit sinister, I thought. It was just a bit strange.
There was kind of a procurement sort of edge to that, I have to
say. And
and
I thought, the vendeuse, I don't know, maybe I watched it in a weird state of mind, but I kept thinking she must be cold. She was, whereas Eugenie was in this woolen suit, the vendeuse was in sort of several layers of very fine silk by the looks of it, very elaborate with sort of silk roses and flimsy outfit.
Yes, very flimsy, because it doesn't seem like it's a coat. It's, as you say, it's like silk roses, collar, and then just a wrap of pleated silk, which looks lovely, but seems more like something you pull on your shoulders in the evening, not to brave icy Paris.
Yes. And so then she's taken back, and I thought the hair thing was really interesting, that obviously her hair was just absolutely not acceptable and had to be changed straight away.
Yes.
And for a moment I thought, oh, maybe they will cut it, but of course it's a bit
Yes,
early.
I did, but they just redress it so it's less wild.
Yeah, it's a bit more neat.
Don't they? And I like, they've got the powder puff, but you don't see that. You don't see the makeup being done. But she's got quite Theda Bara style eye makeup anyway.
Yeah.
And then she gets presented to the director. That's quite interesting as well.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to be wildly.
No, he's
keen.
Not terribly impressed.
No.
Really. And I mean, she's not very good at walking.
No, and she looks, well, at some point even the intertitle or whatever it's called, it says she's very sad.
Yes.
Well, unsurprisingly, but considering.
Yeah, she's only just escaped her mother's unsavory tavern. And it's really, I mean, the most fascinating thing is what I now know the point of the film is that you get to see inside Dracul. Yes. And that is amazing because it seems so huge and cavernous and chaotic. And seeing the cabine with all the models in is really great. It reminded me of You remember we watched Au Bonheur des Dames
Yeah.
a while ago? It reminded me of that when they go into the cabine with the mannequins, and
Yes.
it's such a of that time situation that there's this group of mannequins just in there waiting for clients to come to show the clothes, and that kind of mess of bodies and makeup and trimmings and clothes and things is really fascinating.
Yeah, and that you could see in the background the wardrobes actually with things
Mm.
hanging in them.
Yes.
And this time they were all seemed to be quite nice, unlike
Yes, thankfully.
mm,
Yes, because they were quite mean, as I remember, in
yes.
Bonnet les Dames. Yeah, and it's interesting as well that, like, at first I didn't realize that one wall is a mirror.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I must
Well,
have another
it's like
look.
I suddenly realized that things were doubled and
Oh.
that it was much smaller than I'd thought it was.
Mm.
Um, and then I really loved seeing, because it's not like a fashion show in the sense of a formal parade in a particular order. It's so chaotic the way
Yes,
it's like the salon, and I think it is all filmed in the actual salon, Dreckel's actual
I
salon,
think so.
don't you?
I read somewhere that they had installed a whole cafe on the second floor. It sounds like it
Wow.
was a really big establishment.
I mean, you get the sense of it being huge just from that corridor they keep meeting in and walking in. It's
Yeah.
really long. And you have like the cabinets, which we've seen in other films as well, the glass cabinets that seem to have accessories in
Yes.
to display. But then all these doors that must be all the different, the cabine for the models, but also where women would try things on and the
Yes.
different workrooms and la la. And yes, the huge salon where they're showing the clothes. And I love how you get such a sense of what it would have actually been like, because I think we think of it too much in relation to fashion shows now,
Mm.
because it's so chaotic. It's like this big room with chairs around the edges, isn't it?
Yes.
But there are clients coming in randomly at different times, and they have no qualms about walking right through the models presenting the clothes
Yes.
and pausing and chatting, but nor do the vendeurs and the other people connected to the
Employed.
yeah,
Mm.
they're just wandering around in the space. It's as though the models are just part of a melee of people in that space, and they kind of are in their own realm, twirling and posing and showing the clothes. But yeah, it was much more chaotic than I thought.
Yeah, and it seems like the clients still have their street clothes on and they sit, and then there seem to be the odd vendeurs behind the chairs,
Mm,
sort of sometimes pointing something out or chatting,
yes,
and like you
yes.
say, sometimes going away or coming back. And yeah, I found that absolutely fascinating. Like you say, it doesn't
Completely
really.
fascinating, because it's more like a street scene or something. It's
Yeah.
so chaotic, and yeah, as you say, I like how you see the clients, because it is as though it's as much a sort of social pastime to come and have a chat with your friend and look at the clothes as it is actively thinking, I'm going to be focused and look at these things and choose
Yeah,
something. It
it's
seems
like a
much more
pastime.
casual. Mm,
And the person who brings the men in, she brings
mm.
a dog, and then there's another
I
dog.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
Coda? He'd be like charging around as fast as he could amongst all the
Uh,
models. She has like a gigantic dog, like a Great Dane
mm,
size. I don't think it is a Great Dane, but a
mm,
huge dog.
yeah.
Yeah, and also the way that she's brought the painter, and I know this is part of the very flimsy plot, but he's not interested at all.
No.
He's just there because she brought him.
Mm,
So I like that kind of, the sort of sense that if you're of a certain social class and you were bored on a Monday morning, you might just drop by a couture house and see what's going on.
yes. Mm,
It makes it all so much less formal than you imagine it, I think.
mm,
And it's really great seeing the clothes, and
yeah.
there's so much focus on them, which is lovely.
Yeah. So what I like how they often, yeah, you see them in in the room, sort of posing in front of the clients, but then you get a focus on the clothes, so they appear. What is that called when they shadow out the rest? Maybe
I don't know. I was
masking
going
or
to ask
something.
you. Probably masking.
Yeah, so you just then the room disappears, and you just you get the sort of black around just the model, so you can really concentrate on the clothes. And that's, I don't know, that is always her, isn't it? That is always
Oh, is it
Eugenie who
always
is.
her?
I'm not sure, maybe not, but I think a lot of the time it's her who is now called Nicole.
Yes, of course. She's been reborn
Yes.
as a model.
Yeah, and there were just so many clothes as well. I mean,
I know.
if you think about a collection now, there seem to be quite a lot more. I mean, some were
Definitely.
there were a lot of similarities, I guess.
Yes, but interesting to see that transitional silhouette where you've still got the longer length from the late teens and that kind of tube, that it's sort of tubular, but it's fuller in the middle somehow, silhouette, and also the layers that you've got there, but you can see the kind of like the haute 20s silhouette, it's starting to emerge by 23.
Quite a lot of diagonals.
Yes, sort of asymmetry and diagonals, definitely. And also layers, like strange, they seem to love a reveal. So having like an amazing wrap that's very voluminous and amazing in its own right, but then the reveal of the dress beneath, and then the reveal of the back of the dress, because you sort of get a sense as well of how that would work in these women's real life. Of arriving in your dramatic evening wrap and then being seen from the front as you take that off, but then you'd be seen by most people from the back. So you need the back of your dress to be good too.
Yeah.
And I liked that, because I always think it's disappointing when you see like red carpet dresses or something, and then they turn around and it's like a not especially well put in zip or something. And you think, couldn't you have made some effort with the back there? Look at some early 20th century clothes and learn about backs.
And I like how when they do it in the salon, how they always let the wrap sort of half drop to the floor. I suspect you wouldn't do that in real life, but they always
but
just
it's
let
very
it sort of,
dramatic.
Yeah, they let it sort of glide down, and then they
Yes.
pensively sort of look somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. What I found most
so
amazing is there's one outfit, and I think you see it a few times, which seems to be like a completely diaphanous fabric, but with a big sort of band of fur, heavy fur at the bottom. Yeah.
Yes. That would have been so weird to wear. It would have really, because that's one of these wrap affairs, isn't it? And it would be so weird to wear something. You feel it wouldn't last very long.
No.
Because I suppose that didn't matter. They were wearing different things all the time. But to have such heavy fur on such a thin, sheer material, you can see how it's being pulled. But it's almost like it's like a sweetie wrapper, isn't it? You know, the way you get on, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Quality Street level of sweets, but which is very insulting to Dreckel. But just the way that you get like a coloured foil and then you get a crinkly,
that's such a good
clear
comparison, actually.
Do you know what I mean? It's like sweeties. That it's, because I've actually been thinking about the idea of effects a lot with what I'm writing for chapter 5 right now, and I was thinking this is all about effect, isn't it? It's all about the way it's almost more like costume, some of the outer layers of these clothes.
Yeah, and it's a lot about ability to handle them.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
or
really
also opportunity to show your ability to handle them. Or handle is not the right word, but
that's such a good point, because it's like I was always fascinated, you know, when we did our, you know, classical dress and ancient dress section when all those years ago.
Yes.
And I was always fascinated by the idea that a real toga is just essentially a blanket, and that the point is that you have enough understanding of how to manage a large amount of fabric on your body to not end up naked.
Yeah.
And that it's all about draping it around you in an artful manner and being able to move in an artful manner. For men, this was, of course. And it's the same principle, essentially, isn't it? That it's just managing an enormous amount of layers and fabric and things moving around your body, but being able to keep them all under control and then in a very controlled, elegant way, remove them at strategic moments and present them.
The other thing I find interesting is when the mother comes to visit her.
Yes.
That's almost
because she
a
writes
bit
another
cruel.
sweet note.
She writes another sweet note, but the mother is sort of made fun of a bit.
I know
think,
that's like, she's not a nice woman, but there's no need to be mean to her for being working class.
Yeah.
And they really are.
Yeah.
No, because the doorman follows her. It's like she's
Yes.
a criminal. And there's stuff about her that she should have used a service entrance.
Yeah, and also then how director doesn't sack Nicole or Eugenie, but says, make sure your relatives don't come here.
Yes, exactly. That all of that world that must have been the world of most of the models has to be completely repressed and kept contained in Montmartre and other less wealthy areas. What do you think? I was wondering, do you think Nicole is meant to be a more modern name than Eugenie?
Yeah, I don't know. I really didn't understand that. Maybe. Yeah, that could
because I wasn't sure if it was just the fact that now the couture house kind of owns you, so we now rename you in our image, or if there was a significance that I don't know of what those two names meant in France in the early 20s.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It could be. Yeah, I don't know either. Or more unusual maybe as well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I have to say the painter doesn't really get much to do other than, I mean, it's a bit horrible as well, the way he moons around waiting for the models to. Yeah,
I know. But then it reminded me that there is in the diaries of Duff Cooper, he does that with Lucille.
Oh really?
Yeah, there is
God.
this passage where he goes to Lucille and he sees a beautiful model, and he actually says, he and a friend, he says himself, we were really horrible. We tried all sorts of things to try and find out where we can find her, and it doesn't work, thankfully. And then he sees her again, and it's Hebe, I don't know how you pronounce it. There's a sort of picture of her on the National Portrait Gallery website, and he sees her again in Paris, and he says she's the most beautiful woman in the entire world I've ever seen. But he does actually sort of hang around to ogle the models by the sounds of it.
Because it's like, in the 21st century, I hope everyone understands no means no.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean keep thinking of new ways to persist and pester and basically stalk a woman.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, that's the premise of a lot of films.
Yeah, and it did seem very like that in this film.
It really does. And it's another case, as with so many of the films we've discussed, of a rather mediocre man going after a beautiful woman. I mean, I know we're meant to think, oh la la, this is lovely, because then he takes her to Claridge and they have tea.
Yes.
And that's quite funny as well, because that's another incredible kind of mob scene that you're meant to think, oh, how refined and lovely. But to me, I just thought, oh my God, how could you drink your tea with this massive crowd of people clomping around the dance floor? It looked very funny and squashed.
And it's one of those instances, it happens a few times in the film actually, where you can see that people were fully aware they were filmed and actually stare right into the camera.
Yes. Can you hear Coda going mad? Yes, he doesn't like it that I've shut the door so he can't get in. Because I wanted to be quiet to talk to you. But clearly that's rude of me. No, exactly. It's very interesting because it does kind of cross between like amateur film. I don't mean this against the director, but exactly what you're saying, that you have people in the background of shots who are just going about their daily business and then suspiciously thinking, what's that person with the giant movie camera doing? But yeah, it's so funny because they're so squashed. I can't remember what the film was we watched where they're in a small club and the the dancers are literally crashing into the people drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I
But
do.
it was
And
another one
it's
from
got
the Cinematheque.
Kiki de Montparnasse
Yes,
in it,
exactly.
but I still can't remember which film it is. That's
It was from
terrible.
the Cinémathèque Française as well,
Mm,
I'm sure.
mm.
But yeah, in this case, and then how mad. I wasn't sure. Are they meant to be like Irene and Vernon Castle, the couple who are dancing?
God, I'd momentarily forgotten about that very bizarre thing at the end.
Well, it's so bizarre. It's like another film enters this film and tries to well, it does essentially take over because you're thinking now we're going to focus on the love story between the painter and the model. But then you go to the couple. So first you have everyone dancing. Then they clearly have performers. And so there's a couple dancing and doing very extravagant kicks and
Yeah,
flings and whatnot.
acrobatic, yeah.
Yes, and she's got her lovely bouncy tiered kind of more First World War style robe de style-esque dress on. But then you go as though you're just seeing them in a dark room, and there's bits of slow-mo and then real speed.
Yes.
And
And they seem to perform, so they start performing in Claridge's with all the people
mm,
around. And then when you see them in this other world, at some point you realize, oh, they're doing the same routine they've just done, and
yes,
they're just doing it again. And it's very strange.
it's so bonkers. And I mean, it's really enjoyable
Yes.
seeing them in slow motion. It's really amazing seeing their moves and seeing how the woman's dress bounces around and gets flung around. But it makes no sense. But then nor does the focus where you're suddenly studying the dress and seeing that in great detail. So it is a film about acknowledging looking and acknowledging how you look at things and you focus in on things and
Yeah.
kind of facilitating and guiding that. But yes, and then you just get an intertitle about how, oh, I don't know, that she's been introduced to the different parts of Paris or the different worlds of Paris or something, and she and the painter are looking out of his studio window, and it's all
Yeah.
the end.
Mm.
It's quite a journey, though.
It is quite a journey. And what I didn't quite get is I should have put it through Google Translate because I'm not entirely sure I totally understood what it said on the website. But it sounded like it was conceived as a monthly series. And
Yes.
and from what I gathered, the director had shot 2 films, although I wasn't before, but I wasn't sure whether they had been part of the series.
I
And
think they had.
and then, which I don't, I looked to try and find one, and I have a feeling maybe they haven't survived, but I might be
Right.
wrong. But I then didn't quite understand. Did that ever make a longer series? Are there more of these?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I wasn't sure. I haven't had time to look really.
Mm,
I mean, this was done for the Jean-Paul Gaultier season at
yes.
this was restored for that, which I wish we could go to.
Yeah,
We
me
would have gone
too.
to. That would have been
Mm,
amazing. Um, but I liked it. It's sort of interesting as a different way of approaching showing fashion. Because if you think of like the British, is it's Eve's something or other,
oh
isn't it? That
yes.
they have
Mm,
that's much more like a newsreel in its presentation. It's sort of interesting to think of the two together, of the kind of more chatty, magaziney newsreel approach of Eve's. I
mm.
can't think what it's called. Eve's.
No, I can't.
I don't know, but it's Eve something or other. I think it's on Pathe, maybe. I don't know. But
Yes.
anyway, that format versus this, which is taking you into a narrative, however slim, and just about drinking in fashion details and clothing and movement.
Mm,
So it's just about that as the kind of visual consumption and visual seduction.
yeah. And you wonder who the target market is because, the recall stuff would have been fiendishly expensive.
It would. I mean, because you would think the people seeing this it would have been way out of their. So
Mm,
so you can see the appeal for them, that it's like dreaming and seeing something you wouldn't otherwise. But for Drecol, is it just the kudos of having a film made in your house, of
yeah.
being modern and
I think in the text, if I understood correctly, there was something also about it showcasing Parisian fashion abroad, but I might have
Oh,
misunderstood,
that's
and
interesting.
then also practically, I don't know how that would have worked.
But that's really interesting because firstly, Dracol is an Austrian house, and this is the Parisian branch, isn't it?
I never understood it. I can send you a link to an article where they try and disentangle it.
Right.
But I think this had the name, but it was actually run by someone else, and I have a feeling it was run at this point by Maggie Roof, but
No,
she,
I think you're right, but I thought it was like I thought there was Dracol, the original one in Austria, in Vienna, and then they opened a branch in Paris that was never run by the original Dracol people, but was like a franchise almost, run by Maggie Roof's parents. And then I think by this point, maybe Maggie Roof is the main designer.
yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
so.
But going back to that's a really interesting point because I don't know about this kind of film, but I know with newsreels they were sent out internationally because obviously you just swapped out the intertitles. Yeah, if you just swapped out the intertitles, you could show it anywhere. So maybe that potentially would be seen as worthwhile marketing for Dracol
And Paris
and
itself,
Paris.
yeah.
Yes, yes. But it's really good, and it's such a mad. It's
Yes.
so mad, but it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah,
If you love fashion and spotting small dogs and big dogs
yeah.
visiting couture houses,
No, it is fascinating.
it really is. Well, I think we need to find out more about whether there's a
How
whole
many
series of this.
Dracols there were, and
Yes,
yeah,
what's the situation with Dracula? I think you're right. And then how many of these films?
yes,
Okay, that's our homework.
yes,
All right, I'll speak to you next week.
yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.